Pleasant grand rising to everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Coles Brown. Our guests will be the panel one by one. They'll be coming in. Here's what's trending on the Coles Brown Show. Southern loses to the University of Arkansas Pine Bluff. UAPB drops 40 points on the Jaguars defense. Coach McNair returns to Alcorn as interim football coach. Basketball opened the season with a bang, some in a good way, some in not a good way. And then our SWAC Football Report will be coming up in hour number 2. Let's see the panel. They were all scrambling to get in. We'll bring them in one by one. Willa Brown, good afternoon to you, sir, from
Good afternoon,
Maryland.
All right.
I guess we'll get joined by Coach Pettaway. He's trying to make an adjustment, and Charles Edmond as well make an adjustment. And how ironic that opening band song that was in Alcorn, in Lorman, a few years back. The song, I'm the Greatest, after Muhammad Ali. Well, it's not the greatest Southern football team that will be coming into Lormer, and Charles will talk about it. He was able to drive right in. It's not a typical Southern Alcorn because geographically, they're the two closest schools. Alcorn is a shorter distance than Grambling State in North Louisiana. So with that being said, a Jaguar team is not playing well. Alcorn State has been playing better. They're on a nice little win streak. And, boy, last week they had a huge victory against Texas Southern. I mean, they put a good old-fashioned whipping on Texas Southern. So this Alcorn State football team, Wheeler, they're fired up. Charles said that Coach Thomas said this is a get-back game from last year. That's kind of shocking that a coach would say it publicly, although they may be thinking that internally. But this will be a very interesting game on ESPN Plus.
Whatever it takes to get the kids fired up. Whatever it takes, Carlos. Whatever it takes.
Well, I think Alcorn's going to be fired up regardless. If Southern had a winning record or the record that they have right now, they're going to be fired up. They're going to be ready. And they remember last year, tough ball game. Southern University takes that victory last week, but I think it's going to be very tough. And, Lorman, Mississippi, that's a tough place to play for Southern historically. It's tough. It's a beautiful setting. It's in a rural setting. And I remember when you only had one lane in and one lane out. Now it's 2 lanes in and 2 lanes out. And, of course, the great Air McNair and all of those games, man, boy. I remember my brother, he had to park like 3 miles away and walked to the stadium. That was just incredible in itself. But that's the kind of atmosphere you've had with those type of games. And although it's a little down this year, Alcorn fans are still going to be excited to see the coach that led them to many victories.
Definitely.
McNair, Fred McNair. Charles, good morning.
Good morning. Sorry about the technical quirks. I don't know what in the heck happened, but we're ready to roll.
Now, I was telling Wheeler, you told me earlier before the show that it's not a typical crowd. You were able to drive right in. I don't think Southern will have many fans there like in previous years, but still got to be a football game that has to be played.
Actually, when I drove up, I was told by one of our operations people that the visitors tailgate section over here by the tennis court is full, which means that there's a lot of Southern RVs out over here. So at least, you got some folks showing up as far as RVs are concerned. But no, this is not the typical Southern Alcorn crowd here at Spinks Castle Stadium. You know, if you just go back to when this game was in October, mid-October, big game, whether we were in the East and you were in the West, SWAC championship games, the first two SWAC championship games on campus was Alcorn and Southern. This place would be jam-packed. You know, you wouldn't see a blade of grass, Carlos. You wouldn't see a blade of grass. And
I know.
It's not the same. I mean, if we were just being brutally honest, and in your words, you say it's so tough and so passionate. If we're brutally honest, it's not the same. It's not the same vibe. It's not the same crowd.
Well, we'll get into our predictions with Southern and Alcorn, but we always have to look back a week. Wow, 40 points. UAPB put on Southern last week. Southern scored 21 points, but the defense is a shell of itself. Just to be brutally honest, it is a shell of itself compared to the previous 2 years. Offense still had some struggles, but they had the defense to count on. And this year, it's just not there. What they're giving up? Over 36 points a game in conference play. It is what it is. Can it be fixed? Not this season. And Charles, we talked on your pregame about the defensive line. You appreciate the defensive line the last couple of years, because this year it's just not there. In the fall camp, they talked about the strongest point of the defensive unit was the secondary. I still see players pointing and saying you were supposed to be there, you were supposed to be there. I was looking for help over the top. It wasn't there. It's just not good. And if you look at this record, 7 in a row that they've lost, you have to go back, way back to find that many losses. And you could have some more benchmarks that's not good. If they don't win next week at home against Texas Southern, that's the first time that I can remember in recent memory. And I'm 61 years old. By the way, I made 61 last week. Still a baby, I understand.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Oh, but the grace of God, yes. But it would be the first time they hadn't won a home game. So, benchmarks are good. Benchmarks can be bad. With all that being said, we talked about last week playing for pride. I think they would want to come in and play a good game against Alcorn. Fred McNair's coming back. And Coach McNair is kind of publicly saying it's just another game, but come on, Charles. That's the way McNair says. That's the way he is. But I'm sure he's got a lot of emotions going on.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's good with downplaying stuff. And he said it in his press conference this week. It's not about me. And of course, would say that. But let's be honest. I mean, I've been talking with people all week. I haven't heard one person talk about this game, the X's and O's. All I've heard this week is what type of response will our fans give Coach McNair when he graces this field at 3:00. Is it going to be cheers? Is it going to be jeers? Is it going to be boos? Like Wheeler Brown says, the boo birds. I'm going to give our fans the benefit of the doubt. I think if you just take the emotion out of it, take away how it ended the relationship, and if you just look at his body of work, McNair won division titles. He won SWAC championships. He took us to the Celebration Bowl. There are a lot of coaches, a lot of teams in this league that would wish that they could only do one of those things, win a division title. Some have not. There are some teams that wish they could win the division, win the SWAC, go to Atlanta. I know, Carlos, you've been saying, I just wish my team was here every time you go to the Celebration Bowl. So what Coach McNair did in his body of work speaks for itself. So if you just take a look at that, and personally what he did for me is unmatched. So I have, if he stayed, great. If he left for whatever reason, I respect that. But there's some fans that still aren't comfortable with how he left, not happy about it. And so you're going to get the range of emotions. I've talked with people this morning in the parking lot. But I think Braves fans understand what he did for this program over the time that he was here. And I think he'll get the respect that he deserves.
hard for me to see them booing him. That's hard for me to see. Put in a lot of work there. It's his home, pretty much, for all intents and purposes. It's his house. He helped build it. Get the reputation, Alcorn's reputation, to where it is today. Overall, that sort of thing. And I mean, you got to celebrate that. The fans need to celebrate that, and it shouldn't be an issue at all. Nobody really knows why he left, why he decided to leave. I mean, it's still all speculation, that sort of thing. Coach McNair hasn't put anything out there, to my knowledge, from a negative Nancy point of view or anything like that. Could have been it was just time for him to move on. I mean, we all reach our shelf life at some point in time, some sooner than others. But we would hope that the body of work that we left behind will kind of speak for us, that old Negro spiritual. And we kind of keep it going from there. But I can't see anybody booing him.
Yeah, I think he'll get a warm round of applause, Coach Pettaway. I really do. It's Coach Pettaway. It's just like if you would come to Baton Rouge, people remember you as feisty, but a great coach. They would applaud you as well.
Well, I would hope so, and I just hope that the Brave Nation will understand all the great things that Coach McNair did for Alcorn. And the McNair legacy, be it he or his brother, it's going to always be there. So I think they have that respect. They've done it on and off the field, so it should be there. The respect should be there.
So one of the first things. Go ahead, Carlos. I guarantee you, one of the first things you're gonna see, one of the first videos coming from this game, is when Coach McNair and the team go through the goalpost, and Emmanuel Barnes says, "And now the Southern University Jaguars," and it's gonna be a camera on him, and you can hear the crowd in the background. I guarantee that's gonna get a lot of social media about 3:15 this afternoon.
I would agree. We'll get into the particulars about this football game coming up, keys to victory. As I said earlier, Southern last week dropped a game to UAPB 40-21 in front of 6,245 fans. And, when I tuned in, I knew it was going to be a long day, Coach Pettaway, Charles, and Wheeler. Southern received the opening kickoff, and they fumbled. And UAPB scored like 2 or 3 plays later, and they were off and running. I won't give you all of the numbers, but I gotta give you some. First downs, UAPB 21-14 to Southern. Net yards rushing, and this was one of the key things: 74 yards rushing for Southern, 158 for Pine Bluff. So you'll see the same thing this afternoon. They're not going to let opposing defense. They're not going to let Trey Holly run wild. Not going to happen. And you're going to have to win passing the football. The first big question: can Southern be consistent in the passing attack? Net yards passing, 222 for Southern, 231 for UAPB. Total offense, 389 for Pine Bluff, 296 for Southern University. I'll add some of the other stats throughout the show, but it's kind of the same old. Southern offensively, although they threw the ball a little bit better, this time the running game was stopped, panel, and that's you're going to see each opponent left on the schedule. That's the way they're going to play Southern. We cannot let Holly run wild. We feel comfortable. We feel safe that we will rely on Southern's passing or lack of. We'll make them pass to beat us, and if they do that, then we'll live with it.
Well, I think the coaches.
He's got 6 touchdowns, and look, I mean, I think there's definitely going to try to run the football, and we've done a fairly decent job in run. But Southern's going to keep feeding the beast, and so we're going to be disciplined in order to continue to stop it. You've got a quarterback situation where you want to make it comfortable for your quarterback. You can't be behind the chains the whole game, because that's where the Braves going to tee off on you. So I expect Southern to get a heavy dose of Ollie and company and challenge the Braves to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
And I would sprinkle in first downs. They've got to be successful in first downs, anywhere from 4 to 5 yards. Sometimes it would be nice just to kind of, and we've kind of seen this with Coach McNair as the interim. They've been passing a little bit more on first downs, play action. It seems like they've been running like some West Coast principles, short passing, drag routes underneath, sending receivers down the field and then having the tight end and one receiver underneath. So they have been scoring points of late, but that defense, that defense has a lot of holes in it, and it can't be fixed this year, but it'll have to start over next year. And I'm also going to read a quote that I got that made sense from a Southern fan about the future of the program and what he's looking with the next football program. And I think I shared it all with you in a text message.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes sense. And guess what, Charles? You remember every year and Coach Pettaway, I talk about Atlanta, a bus. You ready for this? I got to bring that way down. Remember you were talking about you got to be patient, Carlos? That's what's got to happen now. First year, you want to be disciplined and competitive. Second year, you want to improve. Third year, you want to play for a title, a division title. And then the Celebration Bowl. Can you believe it? I'm saying 4 years. I'm saying 4 years because you got to – basically now you got to tear this thing down and build it. So Charles always say, are you willing to take a few steps back? Yes. Yes. I got to tone my expectations down. I can't believe I'm saying that.
See, Carlos, to me, it's not just you. I think it's Southern fans, period. See, if we back up a minute, right before they let Coach Graves go to, they made the change and made the co-offensive coordinators, right? Did the Southern fans really give the offense a chance for you all to see there was a change was made? See, I don't think that ever happened. That never happened because I think a lot of the Southernites, they thought you all were still doing what Coach Dooley was doing. But it wasn't. It was a different offense. But I think because everybody was looking for an instant change, they didn't see the subtle changes in the offense. But people that know football, they did see it. They saw the change. Because that was the big thing. If Coach Graves would just change his offensive coordinator, where he went to coach. So you got two people collaborating. There were different changes then. In fact, some of the same things that happened then, you all are seeing them now. But because time has passed, has transpired, you all can see the change. But at first, you didn't see the change because you all were not patient. You weren't patient enough. So because you weren't patient, you didn't see the difference. And I promise you, there was a difference. There was a difference, but the Jag Nation just didn't see it. So with that new coach, hopefully if it's somebody that's completely different, there's going to be a change anyway because they may have a different philosophy. It might not be the West Coast. It might be another strategy that on the offensive side of the football. Now defensively, you didn't scream about being making a change there, but certainly this year the defense has let Jag Nation down. The defense was supposed to be the strong suit for Southern this year, but it was not coming out the gate. Go back to the first game. Coming out the gate, the defense was not where it was supposed to be. But you heard more clamor about what was happening on the offensive side of the ball than you did on the defensive side of the ball. So patience is the key. Whether you got a new coach, whether they keep the same staff or whatever, if they bring in when they bring in a new coach, you gotta have patience. And I think that's the only way it's gonna work. It's not gonna be instant success.
Well, you heard me confess. I've tempered my expectations down, and I'm trying to look for.
But the key, Carlos, I think we all know there has to be a level of patience. The question is the administration patient? that to me is the question, because Dooley went 2 and out, Graves went 2 and out, and if the next coach, whoever it may be, it could be Nick Saban. If he struggles in year 1, doesn't win the Bayou Classic, we go to Mumford next year, and you struggle in year 2, and we understand it's a step ladder process. In year 2, it's a struggle. Doesn't make the changes that people think they should make. Then what happens? You're gonna pull the plug on that? I mean, we're just going by recent history. So I think patience. There really is no patience anymore. I mean, I'm asking the question, but I'm also answering it. In college football today, there is no patience. And I know, Carlos, you tampered your expectation, and that's fine. But in this world of college football that we're living, transfer portal and paying players, I mean, not paying big money, still they're being paid. There's no longer any patience. In 2 years,
but it's gotta get there, Charles. It's gotta get there. It's gotta get there, and it starts with the people at the top.
Right.
You know, it starts from an administrative level, and then it's the trickle down effect from there. You know, so the administrative people, the people that are in power, they're the ones who have to preach the idea of patience. It's gotta come from them. You know, and then they have to preach it at every stop that they make. And if not, then they're not doing a new coach a service at all. You know, but I mean, bottom line being, probably the biggest difference between last year or the year before and this past year, Carlos, is what you guys have done up front. You know, defensive line wise, you know, just isn't cutting it all the way around. And so I don't think it's a scheme pointed thing per se, as much as it is a personnel issue more than anything else. You know, so you got to get bigger, faster, and stronger up front on both sides of the ball, you know, because the DBs are only going to be able to cover, you know, as much as that pressure is put on the quarterback. The linebackers are only going to be able to cover as much as the defensive linemen are keeping blockers off of them. You know, so it all starts up front. So, I mean, but as everybody said, patience is the order of the day. It's going to have to be there. When I got your text message with the thing from the fan, you know, my thing was years 1 and 2 got to be your developmental years. You know, you're turning the roster over, you're getting bigger, faster, stronger, the whole 9 yards with that. Year 3, you start to be in the conversation a bit. You know, you start to see the fruits of year 1 and 2. And then in year 4, you're in the conversation on a yearly basis, moving forward. You know, and I think that's the only way to go. That's the only take that needs to be, the only path that needs to be taken. And that's something that our administrators need to put out there. We need to put that plan out there. This is what we're expecting. This is how we're grading the curve and all that sort of thing. And until they do that, then you're going to get more of the same from your fan base. You know, you're going to get more of the boo birds out there when the new coach come in, you know, loses a few and all that. Oh, here we go again. All that sort of thing. You know, so I mean, I'm just saying. But the preacher has to be the administration in terms of preaching patience.
Right. Now, Wheeler, guess what you just described? A recruiting class. You just described a recruiting class for a coach. You bring in a class of players. You give them 2 years to develop. By that 3rd year, you should be seeing plenty of progress. By the 4th year, you should be in the mix.
Exactly.
You should be in the mix. That is a recruiting class. Carlos, that's why I always said that a coach should have at least a 4-year contract. Because now the years he just described is what a 4-year contract will get you. It will show the progress. And if it's not there now, it's time to move on. And then you won't hurt yourself as an institution on limit yourself who's a cool candidate for the job, because now you're showing some stability. But when you keep turning coaches over after 2 years, who really wants that job? Unless it's a person that doesn't have a job, or it's a new person looking to land a job.
Mm-hmm.
So are
And
you
for
going
us, Coach Pettaway, the transfer portal don't change that.
right?
Let me make that perfectly clear.
Uh-oh.
The transfer portal does not change the path that we take or need to take on our level.
Yep.
There we go. We're back.
No. What I'm saying
Oh.
is, I agree with what Will is saying, Carlos.
Mhm.
That's where the patience comes in.
Mm-hmm.
The patience has to be there for the administration, for the fans, and see the administration. They make moves because of what they hear in the streets from the fans. When the alumni get to screaming at the administration, now they get nervous and they make moves. 2 years is not enough time for anybody to get anything done.
Mm-mm.
Well, Charles, I think every institution, maybe besides Jackson State, but it'll be interesting if they go from a Western Division championship to where we are now. I think every institution, it will be problems. But two things can be true at once. What you guys are saying. I pulled it up. A fan sent me this. Yes, as fans, we will have to be patient and give the right person a chance to rebuild this thing. My expectations, year one, look like a disciplined team and compete.
Mm-hmm.
Year two, become a part of the conversation, even push for a division crown. Year three, win it all, division and conference trip to the Celebration Bowl. If the next coach is able to recruit well and put together a great staff, this is not unrealistic. And he goes on to say, if we're able to recruit well and put together a great staff. Now, here's where it's interesting. I have a little bit more inside information. They've been talking. They've had a lot of applicants. You know, in spite of the 2 years getting rid of somebody, and then there's still some internal things that went on, but I'm not going to get into that. It's still a lot of interest for the job. And maybe it's not for everybody. I've said that before. You know, it's tough at Jackson State. It's tough at FAMU. You've got to show progress every year. I don't have a problem with that if you show progress every year. You slip, you win a Western Division title, and then you slip a little bit, but you still have a winning record. That's progress. Then you get to the fourth year. But at some point, you have to get the ultimate benchmark, and that's a championship. Now, you got to start over and tear this thing down, Charles. You really do. Because of the previous hires. And I do agree. It's all on the people of influence. That's included Chancellor, President, and AD. They got to nail it. You know, if they nail it and you have good progress, people will forget somewhat. If you don't, then it's just going to bring up bad memories. So,
Carlos, how do you nail it? How do you nail it?
Yep. Okay, now, Wheeler, injuries have to be a part of that too.
Oh,
all right. When you look across the SWAC right now, look at how many injuries there have been to these quarterbacks. Now, are those teams as successful? No. Every team that has had a big quarterback injury, that team has had a drop-off. You got coaches playing with their second and third team quarterbacks. You got coaches playing with walk-on quarterbacks. Okay, if you have injuries at key positions, it's gonna affect the quality of play. I don't care what sport it is. If you got a kid that you designated as a starter, that means that kid earned the right to be that starter, right? If you lose that kid and you have to go to the next person, there is and will be a drop-off. And just unfortunately in football and basketball, if it's your quarterback or your point guard, it hurts the team more than to me than any other sport.
Well, Charles, I'll say this. Body got hurt, and it wasn't a big drop-off. They still smoked Prairie View.
And that's because they had a hell of a defense, Carlos, and you know that they've been known for defense since Eddie Robinson walked in the door.
The game was in hand with body
those other facets of the game have to step up. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But if you're already weak on the defensive side of the ball, and then you lose your main cog on the offensive side of the ball, you're gonna get where Southern is right now. So there's no question about what you're talking about, Carlos, at all. I mean, that's the bottom line. You got to call it like you said. You know,
well, but that's
if Southern was a little bit more tenacious from a defensive point of view, I guarantee you right now they would have at least 3 wins under their belt.
Yeah, but they're not.
Three of those squads they could have beaten with some tougher defense.
Well,
they put up enough points in a few of those games in order to come out on top.
Well, which one? Valley?
They came out on top.
Yeah. They
scored how many on FAMU? How many points they score on FAM?
35.
That's enough to win. And anybody's book to me.
Yeah, but it's back to the defense. And
that's what I was stating.
But what I'm saying is when the interim position came, the coach, they started scoring more points. That's a fact. Go look at the record.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because, right, Charles, they were under 15 points a game. Yeah. Now they're scoring more. I guess under Coach McNair is like 21 points, but it's a defense. You're not going to win giving up 35 plus points a game. And then another example, Morgan went down for Jackson State.
That's no drop off.
That pressure, well, it's probably a little drop off, but they were pretty doggone good.
Well,
I mean, they had to find their way. They had to find their way.
Defense.
They had to find their way, and it took them a couple quarters in order to do that. You know, but thank goodness, you know, TC pulled the triggers, you know, pretty much at the most opportune time, you know, and defense had to kind of help keep them in that until the offense could get in sync and they could go ahead and turn that corner. And now it's like Morgan who?
41. Oh no, he's still the best thing going.
Oh, ain't no doubt about that part.
But 41.
But they still expect to win regardless.
41 points they put up.
And that's the key right there. But they've been playing good defense all year. Or decent defense anyway.
Yeah, that's a given. I know that. That's a fact. But offensively, they still scored 41 points against FAMU.
Yeah.
With a backup quarterback. That's just facts.
Yeah.
But FAMU is not what FAM is not at the top of the SWAC in defense.
Exactly.
It's not at the top in defense. See, a lot of times what you're missing is who are you scoring these points against? What you know, how are they ranked? FAM is not ranked in the top in the SWAC in defense.
I'll say it, Carlos. FAM ain't no good. FAM ain't good at all. They ain't good. Not this year.
Yeah, you played a name. You played a name institution. Yeah.
Well, to be honest, that's the same thing you say with Southern and FAMU.
EA and everybody else from FAM.
But they're the two most disappointing team.
Not swiping anybody or anything like that. This ain't their year. They're one of the worst teams in the SWAC.
And I think there will be a change there.
They gotta get AD first.
Just my prediction.
Yeah, I mean,
and wouldn't you say, Charles, the two most disappointing teams in the conference, for whatever reason, Southern and FAMU?
I will put Alcorn. I'll put Alcorn up there probably second over FAMU. I mean, Colsey is still. Colsey is still in. I'm not. You know, I'm disappointed with Florida A&M and what they didn't do at home this year. They got, and I kind of did the math.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, they got blown out by 30 points a game at home against three of the best HBCU football teams in this country: Alabama State, Jackson State, and North Carolina Central. You know, you get beat by an average of 30 points a game at home. That causes you, and that causes people, and maybe like Wheeler said, maybe administrations to think about what's going on there. Colsey's got to go back to the drawing board, got to tear this thing down because it was disappointing for me. I think, last year, obviously in year one of Cedric Thomas, we were picked to win the West. We didn't. But I didn't expect a drop off in year two. I don't think Braves fans did. I don't think Jaguar fans expected this big of a drop off this season, considering you won the Western Division. But to me, Southern last year won games in the second half and overtime primarily because of their defense. Mm-hmm. And I think what you're seeing right now is that this defense just is not very good. And no matter how slice it or dice it, and even Terenzo Quinn, who's the defensive coordinator at Jackson State, Javancy Jones, who's one of the better JSU players that ever come through there. They tweeted after that loss to Grambling in Vegas. They put out a tweet that said, you win championships with defense and special teams. We got to get better on defense, especially in special teams. And they did get better, with what they did against Florida A&M, because their defense was terrific last week against Florida A&M. I'm more disappointed in FAMU, though, because they just didn't get it done at home, and they haven't gotten it done at home. But defensively, that's where you win championships.
And I would tell you this. I would tell you this, Charles. I wasn't a fan of Colsey's, and I'm still not. Not a hire that I would have signed off on, that sort of thing. But, the powers that be did. So in my mind, he deserves every opportunity to try to get it done, and I would give him one more year to get it done. So next year being year 3, if he's not getting it done, next year, then I'd be looking at the possibility of parting company. And, but like I said, right now they got an interim AD, Mike Smith. Don't know if they're going to give Mike the job or not. That's kind of iffy. Mike's been at FAMU probably 30 years at least. And, old head. This is like his 3rd time being an interim. And, so it's going to be interesting to see exactly how that moves forward. But I think the man deserves another year to get it done.
Well, maybe contractually he has to be given another year. I mean, I don't know what
that may be the case, but that's what happens when you don't put your big boy boots on and you step in some BS.
Yeah, I agree with that. But it's I think Southern and Alcorn have been 2 big disappointments. I mean, even right now we won a couple in a row, and I kind of know how this thing's gonna kind of play out in terms of just the attitude of our fans. We've won 2 in a row. The expectation is that we're going to beat Southern today. Our expectation is that we're going to beat Grambling here next week. And our expectation from a basic standpoint is that we play tough against Jackson State to end the season. It's going to be tough to beat Jackson. I mean, they can be beaten, but it's going to be tough. But if we play close and not have happen what happened here against Jackson State last year, I think it'll be a little bit different. But what can happen is losing to Southern here, losing to Grambling here. That can't happen. But I think our fans are going to go back and say, man, where was this team the first part of the season? This team didn't show up against Northwestern State, against Alabama A&M, against UAPB, against Prairie View. That's what people are going to be talking about.
But Charles, didn't your president say that unless the fans buy Thomas out, he ain't going nowhere?
Well, I mean,
that pretty much settled that discussion right there.
Oh, yeah.
If you ain't got no big pocket guys that's willing to buy this man out, your president has already said he ain't doing nothing. So he'll be back for year 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
I think it'll be a few changes in Birmingham.
But then, Carlos, they're going
to
want to have a say-so in terms of who you hire. I don't want that. If I'm an administrator, I don't want that. If your donation comes with stipulations, keep your money in your pocket.
Well, I think it's, as I stated a couple of weeks ago, all fans do play an important point. Not maybe picking coaches, but you still need them. It's like a 4-point equation. You got to have them. They do listen. They hear what the fans say. Some of the things they say is ridiculous, but then some are point on.
Carlos, I'm not making a decision based off of what a fan says.
No, I understand that.
Call me, whomever, the hardliner, the backliner, or whatever it is that you want to say, and that's okay. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm not going to hire an individual based off of what a fan says.
No, I don't think they do that. I know.
Carlos, what
No.
you saying, baby?
No, I'm saying they do listen, but they just what Carlos Brown says, that's what we're gonna make a decision on. No,
If Carlos Brown is giving up big dollars,
I
Carlos
wouldn't
Brown's
care if
voice
we gave $1 million.
becomes a little louder.
No. You shouldn't do that. No. Every AD is different. They all not the same. They're not the same. But anyway, now I could give $1 million. I don't expect them to do what I say. If I gave $50 million,
But you might have some
I do it for the heart if I want to do something for them.
But Carlos, believe it or not, because of your platform, people listen to what you say, and it does affect their decisions. When I say people, I'm talking about the other fans. Other fans, they become opinionated after listening to what you might have to say. So that affects the overall picture. Because of your platform, what you say, sometimes these fans pick it up and they go with it. They run with it. Okay.
So yeah, I understand
That's
that.
part of it.
Yeah, I understand that. But you're saying ADs listen to the fans and base their decision on that?
Carlos, you got a lot of ADs, Carlos. You got a lot of ADs that listen to big donors, that sort of thing.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it happens.
I'm not talking about big donors. You said fans.
Well, they're fans also. They're fans
Right.
before they became big donors.
Well, thank you, Chuck. I'm being a realist. Yeah.
Okay. But here's the thing. Now they do. They listen. The fans get to the AD. The AD and the president. They get to the president. They get to the board members. They put all of this information, and well, not necessarily information. They put all these words and things into their ears, and I promise you, they cannot go without it affecting them.
Mhm.
It does affect their decisions, I feel. If you get to them board members and you board members put pressure on that president gonna put pressure on that AD, and that's why you have changes being made. I promise you that's how I see it happening all over the SWAC.
We got some,
SIAC.
Carlos,
we got
in
some
your
weak
state
people.
right now, in your state right now, there's some people that got to the governor of the state of Louisiana.
Exactly.
Look, wait a minute. Don't even bring up that knucklehead, right? Because
Exactly.
see, now I'm getting angry because he's getting involved in stuff he doesn't need. They got more pressing problems in the state. Your state too, Charles. Your state too, in Alabama.
And all of our states. There's no doubt about that.
Let me not get political here, but
if you guys complexion, if your complexion at your institution was a little bit lighter, okay, they will be involved just as much as they're involved with what's going on at LSU right now.
Well, I could care less. I'm sorry. Because they could write a check. You don't have to reassign somebody. It's totally different there. That's apples and oranges. But I will say he does not need to be involved, putting his nose.
No, he does not.
In athletic business, when they got more pressing problems in the state of Louisiana. That's why his approval rating is 38%.
I feel bad for the new LSU AD because he's about to catch hell.
Well,
he may not realize it yet.
They can't decide. Is he an interim?
He just stepped into the fire with gasoline drawers on. He's about to burn up.
But guess what? He likes that activity.
I guess he does.
Now, I know. This is from the inside. He's happy. He's glorified what is about to happen.
I guess he does until they turn on him.
Well, guess what?
But he wasn't he named a permanent athletic director? Didn't the new president name him as the permanent AD at LSU?
And then walked it back, and then walked it forward again. So guess what? He's an interim AD. And I did a show with Verge Osbury before, years ago. Nice guy. But he is, how can I put this? He's in his element. down there at LSU.
Mm.
Now, take that for what it is. I don't want to get personal, but he's comfortable.
I hope the brother comes
He's
out on
excited.
top. There's no doubt about that.
And guess what? If he don't, sorry.
You're going to put him in a blender.
No, that's okay. He made the choice.
But
He
but
didn't have to say
but the
yes.
point is, fans do have. I kind of agree with Wheeler. I do think fans get to these board members. They get to the president. They get to the athletic director. All this is they're getting to all these folks, and they're kind of pointing out the product on the field and some other stuff that's probably causing some of these decisions to be made. And so that's where I think that's important. Fans do play a part in it because they're the ones buying the season tickets. They're the ones buying the popcorn. They're, you know what I mean? So you have to, it's a difference between hearing and listening. And so when you say, I hear you, that goes in one ear and out the other. But when you're listening, then you got to pay attention. And I think when fans start, when presidents are listening to fans, that means presidents and administrators and board members are paying attention, really listening to what they're saying.
Yeah, you just can't, you just can't dismiss them. You just can't. Fans are important. The AD is important. The president. Hell, it wouldn't be no university if it wasn't students. So
Right.
They're part of the
Carlos, you hired me to run the department. Okay, you hired me to run the department. You hired me to be the steward, so to speak, of the department. Please sit back, you guys, and allow me to do what you've hired me to do. Understand, I hear everybody. Okay, some I listen more to than others. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I'm going to do the best job that I feel is necessary for the men and women, boys and girls of the department. And I ask for you all's continued support to allow me to do that job to the best of my ability. And let's keep it moving.
Now, that sounds much more better. The way you laid that out just now. Who could fight against that?
But I'm telling you in my own subtle way that fans ain't calling the shots in our department. I'm going to make the decision on the coaches, that sort of thing, based off of this criteria. Okay, I'm going to give you the reasons why we're moving in the direction that we're moving. I'm going to give you the reason why I need your continued support. I mean, if you're a true fan, you don't have a problem with letting me do my job and supporting our kids, because ultimately that's who you're supporting. If you don't like the coach, so be it. That sort of thing. Your dollar is going to the welfare of these kids. Love our kids, please.
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
And who is this on the bottom here? No, don't trust and support me after 3 straight hiring failures. No. No, you need to look at getting me out of there. I'll be the first one to say it. If I strike out 3 times in terms of the hiring process, especially in terms of my major sports, then I got no issue with you trying to get me out of there. Because obviously I'm not doing a job. I'm missing something, obviously, in terms of my hiring process, in terms of what I'm looking for. So if you want to get rid of me for that reason, you won't get much backfire from here.
Well, but what if you...
Three chances is more than enough to get it right.
But here's a question for me, though, okay? So I agree with you. But there's some ADs that have made really good basketball hires, some good baseball hires in some of the other sports, but have not had great success in hiring football coaches. Is that a deal breaker, or is that a fire?
Then, Charles, I need to recognize that I'm not good at hiring football coaches, and I need to have somebody in place, knowledgeable, that's going to help me through that process. And there's help out there. There's no doubt about that. After I've made that first mistake quote unquote, after I made that first mistake, I'm looking for help moving forward. And there's some ADs out there that are good at this game, that sort of thing. And, they're more than willing to help you out and kind of help guide you, that sort of thing, especially if you're not a football guy. You might not know what you're looking for. Totally. And it may be somebody else that knows a little bit better than you. Then let me lean on that person a little bit. Bounce some things off of them. Tell me what you think about so-and-so, that sort of thing. Any names out there that, you would advise me to kind of take a look at, so forth and so on. Look at my criteria here. Tell me if you would change anything in terms of what it is I'm looking for a football coach for my university. You can't be naive enough to think that you know it all, because you don't. Ain't no doubt about that. And it ain't no crime that you don't. And it ain't a crime that you make a bad hire.
Right.
It's a crime when you continue to do the same things over and over and over again.
And the most successful ADs, Willers, are the ones who do what you just said.
Exactly.
Number one, they think outside the box, and they let you know that, hey, I don't know it all, but I guess what? I will seek.
Exactly.
I will seek help. And that's what has to happen. And the same thing with a coach.
To the fire. Hold my feet to the fire.
Right. Same thing with a coach.
Call me on the carpet. Ask me why I hired Coach Pettaway.
Yep.
And if I can't tell you to the T his attributes and what he brings to the table and why I went in that direction, I don't need my job. Let me go. Period.
Well, if you listen to some of the Southern fans, they say clean house. AD, everybody. Let me go to the because two things. I always say two things can be true at once. Wait a minute, EA. Wow. Again, Brother Willer, this is a for-profit business. The consumer is everything, and if they aren't satisfied, you have problems. How do you answer that?
Because my job.
Hold up. Hey,
my
Willer,
job.
Willer, let me answer that for you.
Let me answer
that.
Ahead,
you say for profit. Okay, show me a HBCU that's making a profit. All right, show me an HBCU that's making a profit. Now,
took the words out of my mouth.
That philosophy should be for the power forwards. That philosophy right there should be for a power forward. When you look at our attendance now, I don't care, from JSU on down, look at the attendance of these home games. These universities are not turning a profit when it comes to football because the numbers of attendance is so low. The same thing in basketball. That philosophy, in my opinion, should be for Power 4 only.
Well,
we ain't making no money. We ain't making no money. We ain't never made no money.
Guess what? If you look at all universities besides HBCUs, very few of them making it. So it's just not HBCUs.
We ain't making no money. We ain't making no money. We ain't never made no money.
Most people are not making money. That's fool's gold. Most universities, it's a select few. The rich get richer, the poor get poor, and hell, there's no in between.
So let's get out of the thing.
That.
Let's get out of the thing of being the for-profit, all this sort of thing and stuff. Put that to the back of the list. HBCUs were founded to help take care of our kids, to educate our kids, the whole 9 yards that go with that. So that should always be our mission, okay, at the end of the day. Grow and develop our kids in every way. And if anything else comes on top of that, then that's a plus.
Well, I will say this. I've had discussions, and I'm not an AD. Never have been, don't wish to. I know they have a horrible job at some points, but they love to do it because they love to do it, not to get rich.
Mm-hmm.
But we cannot run. It is a business, and you can't run it like in 1990 and 2000 and 2010. It's totally different. Either you're going to try or you just, drop sports altogether. Because if that's the mission, educators first, just drop sports.
You got to evolve, Carlos. There's no doubt about
That's
that.
what I'm saying.
You got to evolve.
You can't be in the
And
1990s
quiet as
model.
it's kept, and I won't call no names. There's probably some schools that do need to drop sports because they're just throwing money in a black hole. Yeah, but I mean, heaven forbid you even think about suggesting anything like that.
They'll chop your head off.
We do have to be wise stewards with the funds that we have. And in some instances, maybe we shouldn't be adding sports if we're not fully funding the sports that we have.
We just had
add
to
sports
drop a
just to
sport.
look good and all that sort of thing and stuff.
Well, you get another issue
when I got more pressing needs with my revenue sports, then maybe I ought to look at not adding sports, Carlos, in some instances.
Well,
let me take a strong look.
That's another
at
issue
our
then.
offerings and our budget, and find out, can I be a better steward of the funding that I have in place?
Well, we have one school that just dropped a sport this week. We had another school that dropped 2 sports in the last 30 to 45 days.
HBCU?
Yeah, in this conference.
Okay. Was it a women's sport?
Yep.
Okay. That's going to be another issue because most of our enrollment is more females than males. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do? You can't drop football. They would like to have that a separate issue. That's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No,
it's not. It's not. It's not.
Well,
you got to try to find a way to balance it. You got to try to find a way to even things up. But it's never going to be even. Football's always going to carry the biggest slice of the pie. That's just how it is.
And look, Charles, back to the fan support. A team that's 1-7, they're in the top 10, top 5 in attendance of FCS. That's Southern. Basketball last year, women and men.
Yeah.
I've seen it better, but it's a correlation when you're winning. And in spite of being 1-7, they still in the top 5, top 2 in the conference. So I'm going to listen to them. No, I make the decision. All the powers that be make the decision. But no. I'm not going to just say to fans, what you say is not important. It is important. But I will make the decision.
And Carlos, don't get me wrong now. Okay, I'm not saying what they say is not important. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I'm not going to make a major decision based off of their particular feelings, that sort of thing. Because if you're listening to it, I'm just putting it out there, Carlos.
I know, but I'm saying, who would do that?
Come on now.
Wow. I guess I
Carlos.
learned something.
Come on, Carlos.
I guess I learned something. Let me call my AD.
Yeah, please.
Do you make a decision based on what the fans are saying? Because if that was the case,
you would be surprised, Carlos. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You would be surprised.
Okay.
Directly or indirectly, you would be surprised. It happens on a regular basis. Don't think that it doesn't. It does.
So shame on them. I hope the coaches don't do that.
So let me ask you a question, Wheeler, about the whole process of successful ADs in this realm that we're in. We're talking about SWAC and HBCUs. So you have some schools in which the AD will have a Rolodex and have names and a short list, and they'll do the vetting. And then you have the committee route. Does when you use a committee, does that in a way bail out the athletic director in a way, even though at the end of the day, this committee is going to bring you 3 or 4 names based on the vetting and all the stuff that they do? They take the hard, heavy lifting out of your hands. They just bring you 3 or 4 names that are the best candidates for what you're looking for. And
they don't really take the heavy lifting out of your hands, Charles. That's a misnomer right there. Okay, because 9 times out of 10, me as the AD, I'm trying to finagle. I know this is a bad word. I'm trying to finagle that list so that the committee is looking at things through my eyes and not necessarily through theirs. Because at the end of the day, I know what it is that I'm looking for. So I'm guiding the conversation in the direction in terms of the criteria that I have put out there. If I know Coach Pettaway is a great recruiter and, he's got X, Y, and Z in terms of graduation rate and, all this sort of thing and stuff, and in my mind, he's one of my top choices, okay, then I'm singing his praises pretty much every chance that I get, okay, and leaving it to no uncertain terms that he's a guy I want to see in that top three, and then it's going to be on Coach Pettaway to come in and seal the deal. Okay, but I'm going to push him. He's my top guy, what have you. Somebody that I believe in, I know can get the job done, so forth and so on. Now, Coach Pettaway, it's up to you to convince the committee of what I already see in you. And if you're not able to do that, then maybe you wasn't the guy for the job in the beginning, that sort of thing. So it's not, it's not a thing of the committee taking a heavy lifting off the AD. I'm pushing the people based off of my criteria. Good recruiter, great graduation rate, kids are disciplined, they go into class, whole 9 yards, all the things that I need to see, great GPA, all the things I need in a great head coach, championship caliber coach,
team player with the staff. Yep.
Yeah, the whole 9 yards. And like I said, I'm pushing those people to the head of the class in front of the committee. Now, committee, if you see something different, then naturally you got to come and explain to me what you see. What is it that you see? Because a lot of times I know something about a candidate that you on the committee don't know. Because a lot of times you're just seeing a resume. You're seeing a resume where I may have seen the person. I may have more intricate knowledge of his skills or lack of, that sort of thing, that you on the committee would not have. And so it's my job to make sure that you all understand everything there is to know about each and every candidate that you all are looking at. That's part of my job in terms of bringing forth the information. And you'll be surprised how many times people on the committee would say, damn, Will, I didn't know that. Had no idea about that. But his resume says X, Y, Z, that sort of thing. So they're just going off of what they see on the resume 9 times out of 10,
paper.
y'all. Yeah.
On paper.
Yeah.
Okay, so that being said, if all of that is happening behind the scenes in that process, and you're spending money for a search firm to help you, and it does cost you, why even do that?
Because that's my take exactly, Charles. A lot of times you're hiring a search firm who has very little, if no knowledge of HBCU culture. And that is oh so important on our level. They got to know what they're dealing with. They got to know the kind of people that we're looking for, that sort of thing. And if I got to tell you as the search firm what it is that our culture is all about, that sort of thing and stuff, how can I trust that you're going to come back with the adequate person for my search? I can't do that. So why hire you in the first place? Okay, I know what I'm looking for. I know what it is I'm looking for. And if I already got a short list out there, then that makes it even more of a plus. And if I'm already bouncing it off of people that I know and trust that are in the game, which I should be doing, then that helps me further the process along. So I mean, to me, Charles, to spend $50,000, $60,000, $75,000 on a search firm, that's shoes for the damn track team. or a warm-up suit for somebody, that sort of thing and stuff, you know, or extra scholarship for golf or something like that. You know, I don't want to do that just to say that, well, you know, we hired a search firm and the search firm came up, that's passing the buck. You know, now putting the bad hire on a damn search firm. In essence, that's like passing it on to the committee, Carlos. That's like putting it on the committee.
Does that take the AD off the hook, though, if that hire is not a good hire?
It's not to knowledgeable people, it doesn't. You know, to people who have no idea of the process and what goes on, then yeah, search committee gave us a bad seed, that sort of thing. It's just somewhere to pass the buck. But people that know and have been in this game a long time, they know better, Charles. They know better. You know, not gonna put it on the search firm, because their search firm has no idea, like I said, in terms of the culture, HBCU culture, and exactly what it is that we're looking for. I mean, even if I tell you, chances are you ain't gonna understand. You don't know what you don't know. If you ain't been this way before, you know, visually, personally, that sort of thing, then it's hard just to look from the outside in and say, well, yeah, well, you know, I graduated from LSU, but I know what Southern needs to do. That don't catch it.
all I know,
that ain't gonna get it. That ain't gonna get it for me.
All I know, you've had 2 direct hires, and the guy Banks came on this show. Charles, do you remember that? And he said he had the blessings to make a direct hire the last 2 times. So now, yeah, they've hired a coach of a search firm, is what they told me. That's why I say it goes back. You got to hit this one. We've tried it this way. Now we're trying it that way. And then simply, sometimes you can just make a mistake. I recommended a guy for the job, checked all the boxes, didn't work out. They say it didn't work out. It just didn't.
Carlos,
And I know,
I say this
I know.
1,000 times, you're not going to bat 1,000 in this game.
Nope.
In the hiring game, you're not going to bat 1,000. But damn it, you got to be 800 or somewhere around there, 750, 800, something like that. You ain't got to knock it out of the park every time.
It ain't 750.
You got to hit the ball sometime, Carlos.
Well, you know, in
you
baseball,
can't get 500.
Well, wait a minute.
500 ain't gonna
if you look at baseball, the best
If you hit
hitter,
500, you're in the Hall of Fame.
no, the baseball.
Go figure that one out, right?
No, in the professional baseballs players, the best hitters are under 400.
Yeah.
So what does that say? You get 3 hits out of 10. You get 10 at bats.
Yeah.
You'll be in the Hall of Fame. I mean,
that's why Coach Kadar said baseball is just a unique game.
Baseball is the only sport in which you can fail at it 70% of the time and still be in the Hall of Fame.
Exactly. That's what he said.
And still be a multi-millionaire. Ain't no doubt
still
about
be
it.
filthy rich. Correct. Yeah.
So for as ADs, no, 350, 380, and no. You gotta hit the best that you can, and if not,
you gotta hit 700, 800.
All of them gone.
No doubt about that.
Well,
you know, you get a couple strikeouts, a couple failures, that sort of thing. But I mean, and you don't know what you don't know. If you're not a football guy, you know, then you need to surround yourself with some football guys. There's enough of them out there, you know, people that you trust and all that stuff. If you've been in this business 30 years or so, and you don't know anybody of value that you can bounce things off of, that sort of thing, you know, that you trust, you know, that you lean on heavily, that sort of thing, you have wasted your entire career. Period. Period. You have.
Well,
you really have, Charles. You really have.
Most ADs in this conference have basketball backgrounds.
They do.
You know, as far as they playing sports.
More so of a reason why They should be leaning on those who have made multiple bad hires in football. They should be leaning and looking in another direction in terms of people that they trust that can help them over the hump. And there are folk out there. And this ain't the only conference.
Yeah.
You know, you going to, you know, the committee meetings and all that sort of thing and stuff, NACTA and all that stuff. You know, you meeting ADs up the yin yang. You know, ain't no reason why you can't pull somebody off to the side, invite them to lunch, somebody that's, you know, special that knows these things and bounce things off their head, that sort of thing. Take notes, write down things, and, you know, I need a little help going in this direction to get this done, get that done. You know, what you think, that sort of thing. I mean, you know.
It's called networking. Networking.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Coach Pettaway. End of story.
Guys,
So ain't no reason why. Ain't no reason why not to get it done.
I think that's happening, though, guys. I really think that behind the scenes, I mean, we don't know. I don't know. But I think behind the scenes, that probably is happening. They're probably not talking about it, letting the season play out, but at the same time, kind of doing those. I think they are doing some networking, and they are talking to different people with football knowledge to kind of help guys with
and they probably are.
Yeah,
and they probably are, Charles. At least they should be anyway.
They are. I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet a coat that is probably that they're doing that behind the scenes. And yeah, and I think that's an important. And just like you said last week, what's the plan? Southern has a plan.
That's it. That's it.
They
right
have,
there.
They're
I ain't got 2 cents in this nickel, Carlos. I ain't got 2 cents in this nickel. But if I did, I would want to know what the plan is. I want to know what you guys looking for. I just got to know that. Yeah. You know, tell me the criteria. Let me know what it is you guys are looking for. You know, and I think the fan base deserves that, especially after the last 2 hires. I'm surprised, and I don't know because I ain't got my ear to the street committee down there, that sort of thing. I'm surprised they're not a little louder in terms of, you know, what is it that we're looking for? And don't tell me we've hired a search firm and all that other nonsense that go with that, because that ain't what I'm looking for. That ain't telling me what the requirements are to be the football coach at Southern University.
Win, baby, win.
Tell me about year 1. Tell me about year 2. Tell me about year 3. Tell me about year 4. Tell me everything that fan who sent you that text, okay, predicts in terms of how this thing should be moving along. How do you feel about that? How do y'all feel about that? When I say y'all, Carlos, I'm talking about people in power, people that are making decisions.
Well, it's so political, and like I say, I'm on the inside. Y'all looking from the outside, and I happen to agree with that fan 150%. That's a fan who also said, "Look, I got to temper it down." You know, Atlanta, bus, you know, we got to temper it down. They have a plan. They better. Now, do I know what the plan is? No. They're not going to share it with me. Now, they may share it after they've made the decision.
Correct.
Okay. Hey, but Carlos, with that plan that you all are talking about right now, how did that apply to Coach Graves?
How did it apply to Coach Graves?
Obviously it didn't, Coach Pettaway.
Wait a minute.
Obviously it didn't.
Wait a minute. Let me say this. See, specifically, what are you talking about as far as the plan with Coach Graves?
No,
I mean,
okay.
A lot of people love Coach Graves. I did too. A lot of people didn't agree with what happened, but there's plenty that did agree.
What was the goal for year 1? What was the goal for year 2?
What
was the goal for year 3?
I don't think it was winning the Western. I don't think it was winning.
This is not directed at you, Carlos. You just happen to be the representative from Southern University. This is not directed at you. This is just directed at the powers that be at Southern. What was the plan for Coach Graves in each year? What is it? What is it that the powers that be was looking for in year 1, in year 2, in year 3, that sort of thing?
Yeah. No, 1,000.
I can't answer for them, but I can
know
say
you can.
I'm saying the first year they won the Western Division, right? Made it to the SWAC championship game.
Could not have been the expectation.
How can you improve from year one? Get into the championship and winning it all, right? And go to Celebration Bowl. Then the next year you didn't. You dropped, and for many reasons, I understand, but you dropped. You always want to go like this. Not that was too big of a drop. Too big of a drop from winning the Western. Hell, it would have been better to be second or third. They were
exactly.
They were projected to be number 4.
Could not have been the year one expectation off the bat.
So you turn down.
Feasible.
So you turned it down.
Feasible. Thank you, Coach. Bless you for getting there and doing what you did in year one. Mm-hmm. You went above and beyond the call of duty. Okay. Now I'm foolish if I think that this is what needs to be happening on a yearly basis. That ain't right. That's not right.
That's your opinion, Wheeler.
It is.
That's your opinion.
You
mean to tell me if you're here and then you drop all the way here, that's acceptable? No matter what reason. That's not good. That's not good. How you got there and why you were there.
Well,
guess what?
Guess what? There was probably 3 or 4 of those games
they were lucky.
Either way.
They were lucky, if you use that term.
And sometimes
you
gotta be lucky.
It could have went either way, right?
That luck is not going to be on your side all the time. So
isn't it also expected to have a winning season? Is that good, or no? You shouldn't expect to have a winning season every year.
I'm expecting to be competitive. Okay.
Were they competitive year 2?
And that may be up for debate.
No. Wait a minute. Were they competitive year 2?
Obviously not.
Obviously they weren't. And you just have to look. I know those grades is love, but you got to separate that part.
Is that enough to let a man go right now?
But I got to look at why we dropped off.
So.
That's the question that's being asked.
Why did we drop off?
Was that enough?
Quarterback play was one. We have to admit that. Because if Woods doesn't go through what he does, it's probably better production offensively. Although you can improve offensive line, as you said earlier, and defensive line. But I just think you cannot demote that big drop off. What they're 1-7 now? If they're 4-3, if they're 5-2,
change wouldn't have been made. Change
Carlos, look at the man's graduation rate.
That's fine. That checks the boxes.
Look at his team GPA. Look at his APR score. Look at some of those other facets of the program that he has done excellent in. Okay,
check the box.
And
check the boxes.
We can't discount those other things. So 1-7 plays a big role in what it is that we're doing. Not saying that it doesn't, but what I'm saying is that those other things on top of that and what he did last year should have been enough to give him this 1 year's grace period to go through year 3 and let's see where we are. When I decided to make that hire and gave him a 3-year contract, all other things considered equal, okay, I should have been ready to allow him to do those 3 years. And then at the end of 3 years, year 3, make a decision in terms of the direction that we need to go in.
Yeah, and my whole issue was he didn't even get 2 years. How do we know that team wasn't going to pick up fire and finish the season strong, where we would have been 5-4 or something like that, right? He never got that opportunity. And that's what I'm saying. What are the expectations? What are you looking for year 1, 2, 3? Because in this case, he only had 3 years. What were the expectations for year 1? What was the expectation for year 2? What was the expectation for year 3? We'll never know because he never got that opportunity.
And this ain't directed at you, Carlos. It's directed at the powers behind you.
No, I understand that. I'm just passionate about it.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to get this side of things out there, because hopefully, with your fan base, that sort of thing, is something that they will take with them and start to ask those very same questions that we're asking right now. I think it's important to know.
Yep.
I think the level of the blowouts that Southern had over these last few weeks got so bad. I mean, Alcorn is just the total opposite of what Southern went through. We lost 4 games. We lost 4 games by a total of 20 points. Now, at the end of this season, there are going to be people that are going to be mad, especially if we continue to ascend and play well. We beat Southern today. We beat Graham the next week and play close against Jackson. People are going to revert back to these early season games at Northwestern State. They lost 20 in a row, had a chance to beat Prairie View, UAPB. People are going to revert back and talk about the lack of coaching in those close games, just like they're talking about the lack of coaching in those one-sided games that Southern had. And my guess is that it got so bad, especially at home. With the home losses, the homecoming losses, that was probably the final nail in the coffin. Despite all, Wheeler, you're exactly right. But when you haven't been competitive, I hate to say it because, I like the Jaguar Nation and the fan base and the Tony Clay.
It's true at home. Yeah.
Yeah, I like all that stuff. I love going to Southern's campus and dealing with all that stuff. I love it. But I think it got to a point where the non-competitiveness was just a little bit too much. Florida A&M, you look at Jackson State. I think that was it got to a point, especially at home, where powers that be felt like something had to be shaken up, and what Coach Graves did was not enough. Changing things in the offensive room, it just didn't shake out as enough of an improvement. And I think that's why they made the change that they made. Was it too soon?
Anybody that thought that was going to be all of a sudden that instant offense or what have you, they were just kidding themselves. We all know these things take time. When you were trying to add things and mix and match things and all that sort of thing, this ain't no one-hit wonder, no one-week wonder. It don't work like that. And I think football people realize that. So, my thing is, Charles, what I always say, when you hire a man to a 3-year contract, the least you can do is to allow that man the opportunity to fulfill his contract and then grade him and govern him accordingly. So, it's just, like I said, 6 one way, half a dozen the other. And I understand exactly what you guys are saying, microwave society and all that sort of thing and stuff. What I'm saying is I don't make it right, because I can eat it right now and eat it hot. I like my food over time, Carlos. I like to smell Thanksgiving dinner, the day before and all that sort of thing, and, build it up for me. Don't put my stuff in the microwave. But it kind of is what it is.
But could we all suffer from the T.C. Taylor syndrome? T.C. Taylor has two. Okay, he loses 50 players and 7 coaches, and right after that, he turns around and wins the whole shebang. Division, SWAC.
Obviously, Charles, this man had the mindset to where he already had things in mind. He knew the direction he was going in. He knew the possibility that he was going to lose a bunch of kids, that sort of thing. My thought is that he was prepared for the change. Okay, he saw that or had to have seen that coming. and then he pushed the right buttons accordingly. He had staff people in mind, you know, and who knows, he was probably going to make that staff over anyway. Who said that that was all his guys that was there, you know? And he knew that during Prime's tenure there at Jackson State, people were coming and going like a revolving door. So he'd be remiss if he didn't understand that, hey, I'm probably going to lose a lot of kids out of here at the end of the day, you know? So I'm sure somewhere he started to prepare early on and put his plan together, and it just happened to work for him, like clockwork, you know? To me, the mark of a very good coach, the mark of a guy who knew the direction that he wanted to go in, that sort of thing, you know, and had the backing administratively and otherwise in order to get it done, and got it done. And to me, that's what makes him one of the better coaches in the conference. Can't beat that.
He did a great job.
No doubt.
He did a great job. And based on that, then, Charles, some of us fall short on the coaching side. So and then we got to get a break. Oh, boy, we well over. If you put TC Taylor in the situation at Southern University, it's hypothetically, you think he still does a great job?
No, not with all the injuries that you all had. If you look at the injuries, for most of the games, Carlos, you all were in the game until the fourth quarter. For some of those games, you were in the game. The injuries and the lack of depth took their effect on this year's team. And I don't think the fans looked at that enough.
Well,
injuries were a major factor in what took place this year.
But you know, Coach, I look at every team. They go through injuries left and right. You know, valid point about the quarterback situation. That's what Coach Graves, you know, kind of privately said and publicly. You know, it would have been a different situation if Jalen Woods was able to play. But I don't think they had any ordinary amount of injuries compared to other years. I mean, it's always injuries. I don't know. It almost seems, I don't even know if some people have asked me about the players. Have they quit? I can't answer that. I don't know. I'm not around them enough. But to Charles' point, sometimes it's not because you lose, it's how you lose. You know, if they won at 7 and they were in every game, but at homes it was blowouts, starting with Alabama State, you know, Jackson State. And those are the games that they look at all of them, but especially at home. Home is personal. Home is personal. And I think if any other situation in the conference, if it happened to other teams, their fans would feel the same way. Now, again, the big question, would you have waited to the end of the year or the way they did it within the year? It just looks like, from my perspective, it was going to be changes made. Now, you can look at hypothetically. Okay, Coach Graves was saying, well, we were going to make some big changes.
And that's why we needed
You're going to make some big changes. Mm-hmm. But it didn't happen. What was the reason why?
At the end of the year.
Yeah,
and that's why.
But why did it happen in the middle of the year? Is it something we're missing, something we don't know about?
But if it's a personnel issue, Carlos, when I say personnel, I'm talking about players, that sort of thing. I have what I have. And if my second string defensive tackle is not good enough, I'm not going to put him in front of the guy that I have at first string simply because I've made a change.
Well, I would
I'm going to put somebody out
defensive
there.
tackle.
I'm going to try to put somebody out there that deserves to be out there. So it's just a matter of, you know, do I have to recruit better at the end of the year? Then probably so. You know, but that's something that at the end of the year, when I formulate my plan as a coach and I come in to see Mr. Banks as the AD, These are things that I've recognized on top of the things that he probably has recognized. And this is how we're going to do this thing moving forward, how we're going to rectify this moving forward. And then, Mr. Banks, if you don't like my plan, and I don't like your plan or what have you, and we decide to go in opposite directions, at the end of year 2, then fine. But we have reached the end of year 2. You've given me an opportunity to explain what has transpired, what my plan is moving forward, how I am going to rectify this. You've given me as the AD what you see, what people have told you and all this sort of thing. We've volleyed back and forth. We've cussed each other out in private and all that sort of thing and stuff. We've, got all that out the way. And then at the end of that particular meeting, we come out of there in the same direction. Either you like what I put out there and you're willing to back me, going into my last year, or you don't like what I put out there and you decided that you need to go in another direction, and that's all good. If
And
I have had the opportunity to sit before you and put all these things out there, then I
right,
can take it. I can take it either way it goes.
right. Now, Will, if I come to you, I'm your coach, and we've discussed it. I'm not having a good year. Coach, I want to see some changes made. That came from you. All right, Coach, AD Will Brown, I don't mind making some changes. I'll change some responsibilities on my staff, but I'm not going to release anybody during the middle of the season.
Exactly.
I'll do that at the end of the season. At the end of the season, I'll make some changes. But right now, we're going to change some responsibility on this. Now,
And anybody that has ever coached before, Coach Pettaway, anybody that has ever coached any sport would not have a problem with what you just said at all.
right.
If you're a true coach, you've been a true head coach on any level, okay, you're not going to do that in the middle of the year. Unless it's some extenuating circumstances.
Right,
he
unless
cussed
they
me
do,
out. He cussed
right,
the
if
kid
they
out.
do something
He
criminal,
choked the
yeah,
kid around the neck
right,
or something like that.
right,
Something crazy has transpired. Then, yeah, we got to do what we got to do.
right.
But
And
just
I'll
to
say,
make a change for the sake of making a change, so
right,
people can say, yeah, I fired Mark Frederick. We fired Mark Frederick the other day. All is right with the world. That, that ain't how it's done. That ain't how it's done at all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've seen it other places.
And I have too, Carlos.
The
Don't think
assistants
I
stay
haven't.
on, and the head coach.
35 years in this game, Carlos, I've seen it all. I'm just saying what's right and what's wrong, what would be acceptable to me and what would not be acceptable to me, in terms of how I would deal with that situation. Somebody else might feel totally different. That's their prerogative. That's fine.
and
But,
see, Carlos, if
told
that
you.
assistant coach is not going to be a problem, I said, look, man, I'm looking out for you and your family. But what we're going to do, we're going to change some responsibilities right here. Now, if you're good with that, Carlos, you can stay a part of the staff until the end of the season. But now, if that's going to be an issue with me and the other staff members, yeah, now you got to go.
Then you got to go.
You got to go right now.
You got to
but
go.
Carlos, I can
That's
change
right.
responsibilities.
That's right.
But I do not have to terminate you until the end of the year, to the end of the season.
Well, somebody said they don't have no dog in the hunt. They're from the outside looking in. They sent me a text. He said, in the perfect world or in the real world, and I guess he was taking a little shot there. He was a Jackson State fan. He said, when you let Dooley go, you kept the same staff. Then when Coach Graves brought on, he kept the same staff. He says he just don't understand that. If you're gonna clean house, clean house.
You allow every head coach
He
to
could choose who he
formulate
wants
his
now,
own
right?
staff.
Right.
You allow every head coach to formulate his own staff. So, and I'm sure Coach Graves, being the kind of guy that he is, he sat down, he interviewed each and everybody on the staff to see if they would be a good fit for him in terms of the direction that he wanted to take the program. Now, he came to the conclusion that, everybody else that was there was a good fit for what he's trying to do. So I mean, he kept them. That's his prerogative. You don't get rid of people just for the sake of saying, I let everybody go. I started over from scratch. Let me beat my stuff on the chest and all that sort of thing. I mean, and like I said before, they had won a championship the year before. They won the West the year before. That staff did not become a bad staff all of a sudden.
Well, something happened. Something happened.
They didn't forget how to coach.
No, but something happened.
Something did.
You can't wave a magic wand and say,
deal with
wow,
it when the season's over.
Just
like with everybody else.
It's something else had to happen. I'm telling you. Something else had to happen. That's kind of what I feel, but something had to happen.
I can understand Coach Graves not making any changes after winning the Western Division. You win the Western Division, you're one step away
from
winning
like
the SWAC championship and going.
Yeah.
Right. And so there might have been some tweaks, maybe some tweaks that we don't see. But I never thought that even though he took over from Dooley, if he didn't win the West, I can understand an overhaul of that staff then. But when you beat Grambling in the Bayou Classic and you win the West and you go to the SWAC championship game, you feel like you got some stable footing. You turn the screw a little bit to the left or to the right. You might make a little bit of a small adjustment, but then you bring the band back. And I think that's just the way, to me, it works in this conference. Now, at the big boys level, it may be a little bit different. But I think Graves was trying to ride the hot hand.
I'm sure, Charles, I'm sure he interviewed those guys coming in the door. I'm sure he sat individually with each and every one of those guys, to get a feel of whether or not they would be a good fit for his direction for the program. Them guys know they ain't working for Dooley no more, that sort of thing. They working for Terrence Graves. These are the things that I'm looking for. Can you give me what I need in order to take this program where it needs to go? And if I feel good that your answers have matched what I'm looking for, I wouldn't give a darn if you've been at Southern 20 years. I'm going to keep you for the 21st year, and we're moving forward from there. And this year, things didn't go right. And I understand that I may need to make some changes at the end of the year. At the end of the year, I'm doing my evaluation, sitting down with each and every one of those coaches again, okay, and then make a decision in terms of what we're going to do moving forward. And we're going from there, But like Charles said, them guys just won the West Championship the year before. What would I look like publicly, okay, throwing everybody out the door? That ain't make no sense. The same people that are talking about he kept Dooley's staff over from the previous year, they will be saying, what kind of fool is that? He had a championship staff, and he just got rid of everybody going into year 2. What kind of fool is that? I mean, so he would have caught hell either way it went. But when you win that championship with a good staff, that sort of thing, you know what they're bringing to the table. You ain't got no issue moving forward with them. But you evaluate them at the end of every year to find out if they're going to be what you need to be moving forward.
The only thing I can think of is, and maybe this is just an attitude change, maybe winning the division doesn't carry as much weight as it used to be.
No, it still carries weight, Charles. But it's some things behind the scene that happen, and we just can't elaborate on it.
Very well.
And we just I'm just gonna leave it at that. But you just can't. That is bad. And I hope they can win, but I wouldn't be surprised if they don't win another game this year, and then it'll go down in the record 1-11, and if that's presented to each fan base in this conference based on what they did the year before, I think, put it this way, I know Jackson State fans would be hot, they would be hot. And they won the Celebration Bowl the year before. But if they drop, for no matter reasons, injuries, whatever, they're going to feel that way.
Yeah. They were hot after losing gambling in Vegas.
Well,
the Jackson State fans weren't happy about that. They felt like TC brought in that backup quarterback maybe a series or two too late. I mean, so I get the attitude when you've been that good for that long and then you drop a game and TC dropped 2 straight games to Grambling. That is kind of aggravated JSU fans, but they bounced back really, really nicely in a big win at Florida A&M last week.
Wouldn't Alcorn fans be happy with that? It would be in that position?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think everybody would.
Yeah.
And every season you have adversity. We talked about that in the summer. How do you respond to that adversity? Again,
you got to get an opportunity to respond.
Well, you've had an opportunity to respond. You've had an opportunity to respond. I tell you, it'll be different. Throw out the 1-7. If you win some of them home games. But then I've been to some games where you lost some, like FAMU and Southern, 50-49. What a game. You lost, but you be like, man, what an effort. But when you lose blowouts to your top home schedule, and next year that schedule flips. So I'm just saying,
Carlos,
I'm just saying that 1-7.
And you make the move at the end of the year. You make the move at the end of the season.
Yep.
I just think, and once again, I ain't got a dog in the fight, but doing this during the middle of the year served no purpose. Didn't serve the kids any purpose. Didn't serve McNair any purpose. Didn't serve the coaching staff that's left behind. Didn't serve them any purpose. And you're hoping and you're wishing on a star right now that something good will come out of it for the rest of this season.
Hell, it can't be any worse than now.
Yeah, it can.
Well, 0 wins.
Yeah.
For next year.
Yeah.
Really close this year. Really close.
Carlos, Southern University in the history of their program has never lost 7 in a row.
I know. Well, that's the first. It's always a first.
Yeah, but I'm just saying this is uncharted territory even for the Jaguar Nation. I mean, that just shows you that they've been fairly decent for a long period of time. For them to lose 7 in a row is shocking to me. If you told me 3 months ago that this would be the case, I never would have believed it. But this is kind of where we are, and
it is what it is.
It is what it is, and this is the ultimate in terms of pride, because McNair's probably not going to be the head coach going forward. He's not going to be the next head coach. So where do you go from here in terms of getting these guys up these next few weeks? You got Texas Southern, you got Alcorn in the Bayou Classic. Something to play for. You always got to play for pride, no matter what your record is. How tough is that? How tough is that? And that's the thing I think about, for every team, because you hate to see teams get blown out like this. Whether it's Alcorn, we've lost 4 games by a total of 20 points. It's tough. But when you see blowouts, it really is disturbing for any coach. You look at Colsey losing 3 big home games by an average of 30 points a game. That's disturbing. When you had a chance, when you had the Eastern Division in your hand, if you beat Jackson State, you control the division. You're right there with Alabama State. You had a shot right there, and so now that's a whole different conversation there with another program. You just hate to see that. And now, can Colsey get his guys up? Just like can Coach McNair get his team up these last few weeks?
Let me go to the chat room quickly because they're talking about what we're talking about. Jay Goody says injuries isn't an excuse for a complete regression. You still have to be fundamentally sound. Dr. Cavill's laughing at everything, I guess, on maybe on that particular. Edwin, who most of the time he's disagreed with me more times than he agreed. To go from the hated to the laughing stock of the HBC world leaves you no option but to overhaul a program. If I was AD and my son was head coach, I would have to release him. Well, that's what my brother told me. And he said, I love you to death, Slick. That's what he calls me. But you'd be gone. You'd be fired. I'm not losing my job because of your. Well, I'll cut it off. I won't say the other part of what he said,
But
but
why is it something that could not have been done, could not have waited to the end of the season? Go through a formal process, go through an evaluative process, dot the I's, cross the T's, the whole 9 yards with that. Why could not, what necessitated that it had to be done right now?
Right.
That I had to show,
I still say
people
something
who was
happened
in
that we
charge
don't know
and all
about.
that sort of thing and stuff.
Well,
Something
to me,
happened we don't know about. I'm telling
right.
you.
Well, it's got to be something personal
And
now
that's
because
obvious, Carlos.
yeah, it's got to be something personal
just
because
asking the question,
you could have made
as
this
an
change at the end
outsider.
of the year.
So you think it was going to happen at the end of the year? Coach Graves,
Yeah,
who we love to death, he was going to get released.
No. What I'm saying is, I think you let him coach the rest of the year, and then you come in, and if there's going to be a change, you do it at the end of the year. I don't think you do it middle ways of the season. You don't do it that way. I think it was more personal than anything.
I wonder why more personal. I don't know. If something had to happen, maybe we'll never know. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess not.
But Charles, you said like it's hard for you because you get emotional because you work closely with them. I don't work as close as much of them. I invite them to come on the show. I personally don't get personal against those coaches. It's just the nature of the business. Now it's rough. It is rough, and the blueprint that works for one program may not necessarily work for the other program. But at the end of the day, I'll say this: that 1-7 was just hard to overcome. It could be me at coach. I would probably fire myself. I think it's just hard to overcome.
Carlos, I would say this. I'm gonna say this. The man went from winning the West to what folk are saying, stinking it up as a head coach. You don't become a bad head coach that quickly.
Thank you.
It just don't. It don't work like that. It don't. I don't go from being the belle of the ball, okay, to at midnight now turning into a damn pumpkin. It don't work. It don't work like that.
Well, the clothes came off.
So I mean,
if you're talking about Cinderella,
the same amount of time you gave him to win the West, which was that entire season. Okay, should have been the same amount of time that folk gave him to go through whatever trials and tribulations they're going through right now, and then make that call at the end of the year. I'm not saying you don't make the call. That's not what I'm saying.
Because I think it was going to come.
And
whether it was in the middle of the season or the end.
And it might have. But like I said, I don't think it served anybody for that to happen during the middle of the year. I don't think the kids benefited from it. Obviously they lost last week, and don't know what's going to happen this week and the remainder of the season.
It's going to be tough.
So it didn't benefit them. Like I said, it didn't benefit the rest of the coaches on staff. It really don't benefit anybody. It don't benefit the fan base.
Right. But one of the things that I like about this, you never heard Coach Gray publicly complain or make excuses.
Number class, all the way.
That's what I'm saying. A class act, and for that reason, Carlos, that's why I think he should have been given the end of the year. I'm serious. He's been class all the way. He won the championship for you all last year. You don't forget how to coach. The thing that he's not going to say, and some of us other coaches can say, personnel has a lot to do with how successful you are in competition. And if you got injuries and if the lack of personnel is there, you're not going to be successful. But he's not going to say that.
And he had 25 seniors last year, Carlos. Right. He had 25 seniors. That's damn near 30 of your team.
Right.
That you're replacing. So I don't know that has been a part of the equation either. He graduated 25 kids last year, and probably lost a few others who became disgruntled because they wasn't playing or what have you, that sort of thing. So I'm just going to limb and say he lost 30 kids from last year out of a roster of 100. Okay. So, I mean, you just don't flip a switch and all of a sudden now, you know, you're back good all of a sudden and all that sort of thing and stuff. I ain't trying to make no excuses for anybody at all. I'm just saying that there's more to it probably than meets the eye. You know, but I'm grateful that he graduated 25 kids. That's 25 kids who probably would not have gotten a degree over 3.0 grade point average. You know, I mean, you know, 948, 950 on the APR, you know, on top of winning the West the year before. You know, those are some hellified accolades to me. That say a whole lot. You know, we talked about Don getting a 3-year extension. Hell, Coach Gray should have got a damn extension based off of those same kind of numbers. I mean, hell, what was the difference?
I call it the Rob Spivey effect. No, seriously, did great the first year, got a 3-year extension, and did diddly squat. We're saying that, hey, they may have ran to the Celebration Bowl the next 2 years. We don't know that. But if you lose 30% of your roster, you have 70% of your roster. It wasn't a lot of huge changeover besides of, you know, people graduating. That to me doesn't make sense to have a big drop like you did. Throw out the injuries. But they haven't had a whole bunch of injuries like season-ending injuries. Everybody goes through that. What happened to go from winning the West? And we've stated, Charles, they were very fortunate. I'm gonna take Lucky off. Because if they lose those close games last year, what they're 5-7, something like that. So maybe we were looking, but we didn't see it was something going on inside. But we saw from the outside, won the Western Division. My question is, what necessitate that kind of a drop? Throw out injuries, because there wasn't a whole lot of season, just Nick and Nash. Quarterback position, that's valid. They were banking on Woods. But, you know, McCoy came in, and some people were saying, oh, man, it's dual threat. Remember the discussions we had? All this and all that. He struggled.
And we probably would have found out at the end of the year, Carlos, during the evaluation period, which would have been okay.
Evaluation.
During the evaluation, we probably would have found out during the end of the year evaluation exactly what transpired, exactly what went wrong. And we could better explain that to the masses, you know, at that particular time, which I think would have been a better fit for everybody involved.
Could we
and then,
be
like
wrong?
I said, if you're going to let the man go.
Could you be wrong in evaluation?
Huh?
Could you be a wrong evaluation? Could the talent you brought in, you thought it was going to be this, but it wasn't that?
I mean, like
there's multiple things.
Like we just said, you don't bat 1,000 in the hiring game. You can't bat 1,000 in the recruiting game.
But if you got a chance to win, if you got a chance to win the game, and you got a man on second and third, you need a hit to bring him in.
When it comes to the recruiting, especially when you're trying to deal with that transfer portal. You bringing in full gold left and right.
Well, they went mostly their transfer portal. They went to the JUCO level. They didn't bring in like Jackson State bringing in, and we've talked about that. If they were all that, they would be at their institution. That's fool's gold. The transfer portal. You got to deal with the NIL. I understand that. But I just like the coaches that have done the old-fashioned way. They built without using that. One example, Trey
Oliver. Much difference between the JUCO game, Carlos, and the transfer portal. It ain't that much difference. It ain't that much difference.
But that's what they went for.
Yeah, and that was okay. That's the path that they decided to take.
Can you just be wrong sometimes about your evaluation?
But give me an opportunity to say that I was wrong. I recruited some bad kids. I'm gonna do better. I let me realize my mistakes and be able to admit those and rectify those moving forward, if possible.
Well, let me quickly, because the show is almost over now. We didn't take a time out. Today's game, Jackson State at Mississippi Valley. 2 p.m. SWAC TV. I like Jackson State. No trap game. Jackson State with a backup quarterback, they're going to come out and whoop tail.
Jackson.
All right. Bethune-Cookman at Grambling State. Bethune-Cookman barely got by Valley last week. Grambling State won 13-10. I'm going to go with the upset. I think Bethune comes in. See, here's another team. 6-3, but man, they won the close games. If they didn't, it'll be the other way around. And somebody mentioned about Trey Scott, Dr. Scott at Grambling State University. You couldn't believe, Charles, in Birmingham, the Grambling Knights that could care less for him. Maybe because he's a Southern Knight. I don't know. But you got rid of Fobbs.
Yeah, I didn't agree with that. But things are looking up a little bit. I think they've raised a bunch of money, some stuff that I'm reading. So football's winning a little bit. So things are looking up in Tigerland.
I like Bethune-Cookman.
I like Bethune also.
I
like Bethune also. I ain't buying Grambling stock yet.
Prairie View A&M at Alabama A&M, 2 p.m. Go ahead, Charles, quickly.
I'm going with Grambling. I think Grambling gonna slow them down enough. I got Grambling.
And continue prayers for T-Set, who was got hurt. So a Baton Rouge native. Prairie View A&M at Alabama A&M. Prairie View got humbled a little bit last week, but a good game, a chance to tie it. Alabama A&M, they're playing hard. They're playing hard. They're not getting blown out at home by 30 points. I can tell you that.
And
we're playing at home, so I'm going with the Bulldogs. We haven't lost at home all year.
Really? Okay. I would take that part, Wheeler. Not losing at home.
I'm going with the Bulldogs also. I'm going with the Bulldogs also.
I'm going with Prairie.
Field goal.
Charles, you going with Prairie View?
Charles, you said Prairie View? He's froze.
I'm going with Prairie View in this one. I think barely. Prairie View with a walk-off field goal at the end. I got the Panthers.
Yeah, I got Prairie View winning on a field goal at the last second. But I wouldn't be surprised if Alabama A&M, which plays well at home, get it done. Texas Southern and Alabama State. Wow, last week Texas Southern was humbled. So
Alabama State.
Alabama State, FAMU and Pine Bluff. I'm going to take Pine Bluff. FAMU and Southern about the same in a cup of tea.
Yeah, I got Pine Bluff.
All
I
right.
got Pine Bluff because they're at home.
Pine Bluff at home.
Last one, and then we're out of here. Southern at Alcorn State. I think it has a chance to get ugly. Alcorn State by 14.
Alcorn.
I'm going with Southern. They win their first one.
Oh, wow. Wheeler, you're diehard.
Winning for the Gipper. For the Gipper.
Yeah. On that note, we'll see you next week at 11 a.m. right here on the Black College Sports Network. Until next time, peace and God bless.